I love that because you don't get to skip stages, right? You don't get to jump from being mediocre to great without having to go through something. And what's interesting about, I think, your life, your perspective, is this, I was just talking to somebody about this today, that it's not just the destination that matters. It's the journey that'll bless you if you let it.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody has a journey, has a story, has an experience that's unique to them. And when we share that story or that testimony, we'll find out that, wait, it's not just me.
Yes.
There's several people like me. So it doesn't make me awkward or weird or insufficient. It just makes me human.
That's rich. They should be clapping because that's rich. Right? I love the notion that the solidarity of our brokenness, of our trials, confirms our humanity.
Yeah.
It doesn't deny it.
It doesn't.
It doesn't erase it. The fact that you can talk about your brokenness and I can talk about my brokenness is what makes us commonly human.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to speak about brokenness, I think it takes a certain amount of strength, and you have to pull and find that strength from several different sources. For me, it's in my faith, it's in my family, but it's also in those gifts, in those tools that God gave us, and how we are supposed to cultivate them and develop them and turn them until you get something that's positive out of it.
And you'd be surprised at where your gifts come from.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're gifted at the thing that hurts you.
Yeah. Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
I dig it. I dig it. I've been there.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because, let me read something, because I brought your book, and when I get a book, I read the book.
Okay.
That's why, that's why I'm Dr. Sean, because I'll read the book. So you say this in the book. You said, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I decided to go for a walk outside to lose the rage. I practiced breathing techniques to calm myself down. When that didn't do the trick, I tried calling on the Lord to help me. Nothing was working. Finally, I called my wife, Natasha. She was back in Florida and probably still asleep, and I told her about what happened at the restaurant that night. I still hadn't told her what happened to me when I was a child. I had no words for that. Now, before we get to what happened as a child, take people into what happened in that restaurant bathroom.
Well, I was in Seattle, Washington. We had done some charity work in a good friend, Avery Bradley's hometown. And we were out at Metropolis Grill. They got a mean prime rib. So my intent was to get a good prime rib, get a good glass of wine, do some creme brulee after the main event, right? So I go to the restroom, and as I'm using the restroom, I see a guy in the restroom, and he was tripping. He was, a little bit out of it. So I said, man, let me go in this stall, because I don't want this dude to, miss the toilet, right? Miss the urinal. As I'm urinating, the guy, takes his hands while I'm urinating and grabs my butt. Oh my God. In the bathroom. And it was really the moment that really kind of shifted, the whole trajectory of my life.
Right.
It really, instantly, I felt the rage and the pain that, I didn't experience till I started digging and flashbacks started coming. And I knew why I got so mad. It's because I went through something when I was younger that I hadn't dealt with at this point in my life. And that trigger moment brought all that stuff up. It just brought it all up instantly. Yeah.
It comes across in the book quite profoundly, and I'm going to just extend the runway for you, because you see the guy outside the restaurant.
Yeah.
Tell them what happened.
Well, a brother did walk away initially. It's like my whole career flashing in front of my face and thinking about my family. And so initially in the bathroom, I walked away, told everybody what happened, who we were enjoying dinner with. And when I got out there, I saw the guy and I just lost it. That 7-year-old wasn't 7 anymore. He was, 6'3", 200 pounds, ready to rock. And yeah, I put hands on him. I choked him pretty strong. I'm glad my buddy was there, because I could be telling this story from a different vantage point.
Yeah, prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what comes across in the book, and why I'm asking you to highlight it, is the rage.
Yeah.
The rage. I mean, anybody would react to somebody grabbing their butt in a bathroom. I mean, unless you're into that type of thing. But the rage that you summoned was almost disproportionate to what had actually happened. Yeah. Because it came from the fact There's some things that happened that you had not even told your wife about.
Right, right. Not only did I not tell my wife about or my parents about, I didn't allow myself to feel that, right?
Yeah.
That was not my reality,
Yeah.
you know? And so I pushed it down, I pushed it down, I pushed it down. I never thought I would have to deal with it, but that trigger moment, you know, brought it all back up. And I still wasn't willing to and ready to deal with it, you know, even though I had just had that experience. I still was ashamed,
Yeah.
Embarrassed about it, you know, because my abuse happened at the hands of a teenage boy when I was 7 years old. There was a sense of embarrassment, like, you know, a test of masculinity, right? And so for me, I just wanted to go hide under a rock. And the reason why I really, you know, was able to kind of tell this story, one, is because I did my work. But two, my wife, she really challenged me. She said, hey, look, there's probably millions of kids out there just like you who have gone through certain things, and you got to be a voice for that. I had no healthy examples of, you know, what that looked like. And so I wanted to create something not only for my brothers, from environments like me, from where I'm from, but also, you know, I wanted to be universal enough because pain and abuse is universal. It's not monolithic. It's not just one race. And so I wanted to kind of leave a blueprint for healing, in particular for men.
Oh, yeah. And that's what you do here. And I guess one of the things that had me so riveted by the book was this idea that something can happen at one stage of your life and something at another stage can trigger it. I want us to talk about what happened, but before we get there, inform my audience who may be triggering all day, who may be overreacting to what somebody they love said, and they don't even understand why they're reacting that way. Explain to them as well as you understand it, what is a trigger and how does it function?
So a trigger could be a lot of things for a lot of different people. You know, some triggers could be, you know, initiated by a scent, by a smell, by a tone of voice that somebody might use, being touched the wrong way. A trigger can basically remind you of a tragedy or a trauma in your life that might be unsettled, and you might not even know it's there festering. And if somebody pushes the wrong button, you know, boom, you could explode in a moment's notice. And I believe there's a lot of people who are hurt or locked down right now because of trigger moments, right? They could have been historically, you know, having it all together, and somebody pushed the wrong button and it just sent them off the deep end.
That's rich. That's clappy. That's clappy. And you know what? I just have to say this to my audience. You know, before you judge what someone just said to you tonight or this afternoon, consider the possibility that they've been triggered. That their reaction is not a result of who they are, but what they've been through. And we're so quick to condemn people without context.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, we're at a time now where, you know, taking a step back, you know what I mean, and being more methodical, more loving in your approach. I think that is a way to navigate this thing and really, you know, show people, you know, the grace that you might have in you. Yeah, I think, you know, that's a growth opportunity for all of us.
That's rich. That's rich. Yeah, because we ought to pray for the grace to handle people with compassion and care. Yeah,
we need it. We need it. I need it. Listen, when I was vulnerable, when I was down, I needed more than compassion and care. I needed like a full-time babysitter. Like my family was taking shifts on me because, you know, obviously I was still in the NBA at that time. I was still pretty high profile at that time. And so they didn't want to, let everybody know what was going on with me. So they were taking shifts, you know, and, you know, it takes a village, right? And I know a lot of times as individuals, we feel like we're all alone. We feel like, you know, I got to get through this. I got to do this. I can't let anybody know this part of me, right? And man, boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. You know, I thought that, you know, because I was abused at the hands of a teenage boy, I thought there would be a lot of my friends who would back off of me, you know, and say, dang, you know, question my manhood, whatever the case may be. So I got it all wrong. You know, it made them, you know, a lot of my friends respect me more, appreciate me more, You know what I mean? And they don't look at me, less than. They look at me as just a homie, KD.
That's rich.
Yeah.
Thank God for people like that.
Yeah, man.
Who are willing to see you and to embrace you and to understand you. And you never know how many of them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How many of them have been down a similar road without the courage to talk about it.
I feel like I'm standing on so many shoulders because everywhere I go where bros dwell, and I get a strong handshake. So, boy, hey, I went through what you went through too. Keep doing your thing. And, it feels like, it's a burden on me because I have to take a lot of the bullets and have a lot of these tough discussions. But I know that there's so many of us suffering in silence. And, man, I'm telling you, man, that silence, man, it could kill you. You know what I mean? It could really bring out some of the worst of your behaviors, some of your ideologies. It could make you bitter towards women or men or whoever. It could make you, angry and belligerent. So I just feel like if you're suffering in silence, if something out there is bothering you, you might not be able to put your finger on it. But if you go to therapy and you start talking things out and you start, reflecting and, pulling back some of the layers in the onion, you will eventually find out what your flaws are and you can work on them without having to get triggered. We could potentially avoid triggers if we go and seek our healing and do our work more proactively.
That's rich. That's rich. I want to read another passage, but I'm just drawn to ask you this: what do secrets do to the soul?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's deep. Well, you tough. I think secrets can really destroy your soul, without you even knowing it, right? Because if you have secrets and they're bringing out behaviors in you that are doing damage to yourself, to your body, you know what I mean? Going against your faith, your religion, your family, right? You could you could have all the success in the world, for people to see. And then when those doors close, you could be, in a dark, deep place headed, down the wrong path. Yeah. And so secrets are very dangerous because, what's done in the dark comes to the light.
I know that's right. And what's interesting about that is that everybody has secrets. Everybody, let me say it differently. Everybody has something they wouldn't want the world to know about them. But it becomes a secret when you're willing to sacrifice yourself to keep it hidden. Yeah. That's when it's different. Yeah. Now, let me read this because it ties into what we're talking about. You say on page 25 of your book, I feel it's important to share the full truth of what happened to me that day. For the first time publicly, I'm about to do just that. And I do it for all the other victims who endured an experience like mine. There's nothing to be ashamed of because it's not your fault. It took me a long time to come to grips with that simple fact. Yeah. What happened?
Oh, wow. So when I was 7 years old, me and my buddies, we were at the park playing basketball. We're from South Florida. It was raining. We ended up going to one of, the homies in the neighborhood's house. He put on porn, you know what I mean, and basically, abused us in that moment. I remember running out of there, taking off running, getting home, I threw my bike down, took a shower, came out, ended up getting a knife, started riding with a knife very early in life. Made a decision that I wouldn't tell anybody very early in life. It was a defining moment in my life because at 7 years old, I basically, became harder, if that makes any sense. I became a little bit more like thugged out in a sense. And I had a 2-parent household. We did well for ourselves. And I still was, ashamed to talk about that particular story. And then also, there's a behavioral pattern that started happening. I started to, trick myself into what happened or deny what happened to me. I started, being more promiscuous with the ladies. And that started at a very early age. And that's kind of how I got to that point.
You mentioned in the book, you started smoking when you were?
About 11 years old, 6th grade.
And started smoking weed about the same time.
Yeah, we was blowing dro. We wasn't smoking cigarettes at that point.
So and here's the reason why I'm asking. Because I want people to understand as they watch their own children take on behaviors that seem foreign to the family or foreign to how they were raised, that you may be looking at a manifestation of a trauma you don't know about.
I agree.